Have you ever experienced a season in your life where everything crumbled around you, and instead of receiving comfort, you were met with judgment? Job, a man from ancient times, faced this very situation. He lost everything: his children, his health, his wealth, and, when he needed support the most, his closest friends turned into his harshest critics. "You must have sinned," he declared, as if suffering could only be the result of personal wrongdoing. Bildad, another friend, went even further, suggesting that Job's children died because of their own sins. And Zophar, perhaps the most insensitive of all, insisted that Job was actually being punished less than he deserved. In the depths of his despair, Job cursed the day he was born. This act of quiet solidarity was perhaps the most comforting thing they did. But when they opened their mouths, their words became weapons, inflicting further harm on their already wounded friend. Their attempt to make sense of Job's suffering through their limited theological understanding only served to isolate him further. Instead of rushing to offer explanations or assign blame, we're called to be a comforting presence. When we don't know what to say, and often there are no right words, we can stay, listen, and pray. Sometimes, the most powerful comfort we can offer is simply being there. The right words at the right time can be a balm to the soul, but misplaced words can wound more deeply than we realize. It's about the struggle to maintain faith when life doesn't make sense, and it's about the profound impact we can have on each other, for better or worse, in our most vulnerable moments. This calls us to a higher standard of compassion, to think carefully before we speak, and to prioritize presence over platitudes. This wasn't an act of blasphemy or a loss of faith. It was a raw, human response to unbearable pain. Job's experience teaches us the value of patient empathy. Remember the power of your presence, the weight of your words, and the healing potential of your silence. Not all suffering is punishment. Sometimes, it's just life testing your faith. And in those moments, more than answers, what people need is your empathy, your silence, and your unwavering presence. It reminds us that healing often begins, not with words, but with a willingness to sit in the pain with someone, to acknowledge their suffering without trying to explain it away. This cry for understanding reveals the inner torment of not finding meaning in suffering. This silence, however, doesn't equate to absence. Sometimes, in our darkest moments, when God seems most distant, He may be closer than we realize. Keeping faith even in the silence is a profound act of trust. It has a tension we still struggle with today: the gap between our expectations of divine justice and the harsh realities of human pain. Job didn't seek explanations or philosophical debates. He craved presence, understanding, and compassion. But his friends had other ideas. Eliphaz, one of Job's friends, approached him with a misguided certainty. It validates the raw emotions, the questions, the anger that often accompany deep pain. It gives us permission to cry out, to question, to wrestle with our faith, knowing that doing so doesn't negate our relationship with God. Imagine the weight of these words on Job's already burdened shoulders. Sometimes, it's simply life testing your faith, pushing you to your limits, and challenging your understanding of the world. And in these moments of intense pain and confusion, what people need most isn't explanations or quick fixes. It's empathy, silence, and presence. His pain deepened, not just from the immense loss he had suffered, but from being so profoundly misunderstood. A single mother working multiple jobs to make ends meet, only to be told she's not trying hard enough. Someone battling depression, advised to just cheer up, as if it were a simple choice. A grieving widow, told that her lack of faith is preventing her from moving on. He cried out, he questioned, he pleaded with God, but was met with silence. The accusatory voices of his friends seemed to drown out his own cries for help. Job's experience mirrors the struggles of many today, who suffer in silence while being blamed for the very wounds they didn't cause. This story serves as a powerful reminder. Not all suffering is punishment. Job's friends initially sat with him in silence for 7 days. As Job grappled with his pain, he raised questions that have echoed through the centuries. Why did the wicked prosper while the righteous suffer? In his anguish, Job cried out to God, seeking answers, pleading for understanding, but he was met with divine silence. Job's story challenges us to be different from his friends when we encounter those who are suffering. In our modern world, where quick judgments and instant solutions are often sought for those experiencing their own seasons of suffering, Job's story offers a strange comfort. As we reflect on Job's journey, we're reminded of the power of communicative both for good and for ill. In the end, Job's story is not just about suffering, it's about the human need for understanding and connection in the midst of pain. So the next time you encounter someone in pain, remember Job.